we can't use it for something that's not going to last at least 10 years. You had a question?
Not really a question, but a comment regarding what you were talking about last meeting with the parking meters.
Yes.
And I did a lot of thinking about that, and you had mentioned $5 per day for students.
Well, whatever,
But
it's been no
using that
number.
figure,
Right.
It'd be 50 to 60.
you have to figure that a good percentage of them live in the village. I know a lot live in Blooming Grove, Hamptonburg, whatever. But that's if you use the $5 a day, that's $1,000 for a school year. That's a financial burden that some families may not be able to deal with. Putting parking meters down the municipal lot, you have a lot of people that work down there. We are trying to promote local, buy local, use local businesses. I just fear that it might deter people from going to the different businesses down there if they have to pay for parking. You have a lot of employees that park, that work in the downtown business area, that park in the municipal lot. Now that's taking away from, somewhere 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever. Also thinking about who's going to monitor them. If the police are, that might deter them from doing something that's more important. If we're going to hire someone and the cost of the meters, how long would it take? Like, has that been figured into what we're going to make and bring in as income? How much to install? How much to maintain? Do we hire a meter, not me, but person?
Well,
Can't say
yeah,
meter.
that song was playing here yesterday by the Beatles. Was it Rita Me? Lovely.
And I'm actually in favor of putting them in on 94 in front of the businesses, because some business owners and employees park way longer than they should, and that should be a come and go kind of thing. I just feel like for the 40 or so spots, how much real income versus the impact it's going to make on people that use it to go to work.
Well, it's really a two-part question. Okay.
It's a million-part question. I know, I'm asking a million.
The first one was where the old Village Hall was. It would be a parking system,
Right.
okay, where people would park there using their debit, their credit card, try to stay away from the cash aspect of it. And they would park there for 7:30 or 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So it really fits into the school. Well, last year, I looked into a permit system, all right, where they would come in here, purchase a permit, put it in their window, and at the end of the month, come back and renew it. Problem is with the permit system is the state uses that parking lot for DOT weights and measures. Okay, so that would bring up, well, we paid $20 for the permit, and now we can't go in there because the state's using the space. So really, board, now, okay, let's get a parking system in there. Now, you mentioned a hardship. The hardship would be self-inflicted hardship on the people parking their cars there, okay? Because we do provide buses, okay?
I agree. I agree.
The students right now park by St. Mary's. The
Right.
ones that are fortunate enough to get parking spots inside the high school, okay, they park by St. Mary's. St. Mary's is under construction right now, okay? And I don't really know what their plans are in the future for allowing them to park. That was something I worked on with Father Keaveney back in 2003, about the perimeter parking, okay? On Saturdays and Sundays, if the village board determines, I think we should keep the parking going in that area, then it goes. That might deter people from maybe going to the new park that's down there. Or maybe that's where they are going to park, they are going to pay $3 or $10, whatever the cost might be. We need parking for that area down there. Whenever you have something free, things happen, and not happen in the best way. So it's legitimizing the use of the space, because right now, no one parks there. All right, it's an empty lot.
Well, because it's unless you're going to Betty's and Betty's happens to be
Correct.
full,
And that could,
it's a long walk.
it's a,
Right.
it's an overflow
Right.
for Betty's. Now,
No, I was going to interject. The typical reaction to most people when you go to a pay system or a parking meter system is that it's going to lessen traffic. Every study done,
Yes.
you can look it up,
That's my
it
fear.
increases traffic.
That's my,
Meaning people will come in, buy what they need, go. And they're not going to park their car for 7 hours when they're working in the store or they're leaving in that spot and then their friend's picking them up and they're going to Monroe or Chester, and meanwhile the car is still sitting in Washington.
but what about the employees that do use that for an 8-hour shift or 9-hour
It's
shift?
minimal compared to the income that those stores will receive from the added traffic coming into town. Every study ever done, there's
They'll
always
end
been a
up parking
positive.
in Mays Field, walking over the bridge and not parking there at all.
I'm sorry, what was that?
They could park in Mays Field, just walk over the bridge and then not park there at all.
The employees are saying?
Anybody.
That's their prerogative, they
Right.
would walk that far, but I doubt it.
I'm just posing,
No,
I'm just
and-
posing
and-
questions,
you,
I'm not
yeah,
being
you can look it up.
argumentative.
Every study
I'm
ever
just
done.
posing
No.
questions
At
that-
one time, and you remember many years ago, the
Yeah.
village had parking meters.
Yeah,
And the argument was, no one is shopping here because there's parking meters.
right.
Yeah.
That's really
Right.
not the case now. I don't know if it was the case back then.
Business owners say no
Okay.
one shops there because there's no
Yeah.
parking, but look at the businesses, the
Yeah.
longevity of businesses that are there.
Right.
I mean,
Works
there's
well in
businesses that are
other-
there forever.
Yeah.
In other villages like ours, like
Right.
Goshen and Warwick, they all have the,
Yeah, you know, you could go into
You're right.
the square, and there's cars there all the time, but they're not people who are buying things there. They're either the tenants from
Right.
above, okay, or the store owners.
Right.
Now, if there was parking there, we haven't even addressed that, and really we didn't address behind in the municipal lot either. We really just trying the old village parking lot. So, if, we don't even know how many spaces we have in the municipal parking lot.
About
We,
40.
well, that's
Because
what's
you've got
lined,
Steve
but we
owns-
don't really know what's ours.
Well, Steve owns
Yeah.
810,
Right,
Dan Studio owns, Sagar owns,
right,
Mr. Martelli owns some, I mean, a rough figure was between
Right.
40 and 60, I think.
and that might
Not the
be,
bank.
that, you know, getting ahead of ourselves, that might be something that attorneys have to get involved in, because who knows the deals that were made for the laundromat. I mean, he's got 5 spots in there?
More, I
More
think,
than that?
because he has
Okay.
all the ones to the right, if you're looking
Yeah.
at it.
So
And then he
it's-
has 2 or 3 on the left, which I don't even know if that apartment upstairs is legal.
Well,
But
that's,
that was my
yeah.
inside
So-
voice not being found.
We're concentrating really on the one area that's not doing anything. That one area that caused our village to spend $935,000 on.
Which wasn't even appraised out,
Okay, well, I could only go by numbers,
just.
and the numbers that were given to us. So that, getting back to this here, by adding that number of, for the hospitalization, caused this to go up to 5.27. We're still within our boundary of not touching reserve fund, still putting into reserve fund, and not increasing taxes in any way. Okay?
How much would that add to your reserve fund of $500,000?
Well, our reserve fund right now is at 978. That's the number that was given to
Oh, I
us.
thought you said
Okay.
500.
No, that would, and then this should take us over the $1 million.
I think you said 118, 118?
118 plus 978, yeah. So getting to, let's save this, okay? Getting to our reserve funds. This was as of, I think, Tuesday of this week. We have a parkland fees of $63,000, cash performance bond $108,000, recreation expenditure of, has to be up there. We have money in there. I'll get you that number. Water system improvement project of $92,000, something that water operator and I spoke about today, about implementing a system when the phone goes down, like it has so many times, without sending our DPW out there to see what's going on. It's going to notify the pumps to start filling the towers again, so we always have water.
It's eliminating the phone lines. And the phone lines, you have phone failure. You get a car accident up near Price Crossing, takes the pole out, takes your phone lines out, or controller out. So now you have to start running these pumps on that. So what this is doing is going to make it to the 20th century where it runs on the phone signal. You know, your cell phone, satellite.
So now we have that, and we have this projector. Boy, life doesn't get better.
That's the reason.
Sidewalk reserve, $38,000. Water reserve savings, $103,000. Okay, village capital up on top, $71. Road opening, $6,900. Planning and zoning, $2,600. Road maintenance equipment, $15,000. Reserve fund of $13,000. A-troop cash, asked for people, don't know. PAL is only $374, not 1,000. So we do have, I look at that water reserve and I'm saying, okay, can we use some of that to pay off some of our bond? Waiting for that answer, okay? Or do we want to just not touch that at all and leave that in there? The expenses for this budget, slide I showed last meeting. Water and sewer fund. Well, as you see, back in 2015-16, they had a revenue budgeted of $703,000. However, they only collected $316,000. So I guess you could put any number in there. 2016-17, $793,000. They only collected $400,000. 17-18, $739,000. That was a big issue last year, I remember. Well, we've only collected $309,000. This coming year, these are actual numbers that we've collected from the fourth quarter of last year and the 3 quarters of this year, coming out to $444,895. Well, that's going to be our budget, okay? And if we look at the history of the past years, 316, 399, 309, 444 is pretty liberal. Okay, so I feel, I don't know how the board feels, that we have enough money within the water to sustain this coming year, okay, without raising water rates. Now, like I said last meeting, we still have to have that conversation, all right? Not so much with the water, but definitely the sewer, because we did take out a $13 million bond, but received a $3 million grant, and the wastewater plant is under construction right now.
Did we find out if that was paid off in 2011, I think? We talked about
The
the
previous one.
the previous bond.
That was the one that was up there.
Remember we were talking
Or
about?
was there another one?
Last
No,
week.
that was
2006,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
that's
still,
still being
No,
paid.
no, 2011, it was supposed to,
Sewer.
the sewer
sewer
bond
got
was
paid
supposed to, and that money was supposed to, after 2011, supposed to continue to be put into the sewer. But you were saying that we still owed on that, I thought that that was paid off.
we owe the water, so there was just a understanding. We owe the water the $600,000 bond that was taken out for the 4 or 5 wells. We still owe on that.
Maybe we're talking about something else. I
The
thought,
sewer, what she's saying, excuse me.
Right.
What she's saying is,
Plan.
what we were saying, that back in 2012, the sewer bond that was from the last expansion was supposed to be paid off.
You think it was?
and all that money that were the payments, they were still supposed to be taxing and putting that same amount in that line item to offset a new